This video is brought to you by my two books, Practical Music Theory for the Rock Guitarist and The Blues Guitar Bible. Want to learn about modes, harmony, scales, chord substitution and keys? Or maybe you're interested in supercharging your blues guitar rhythm and lead chops. Whatever you're interested in, I guarantee you will be hitting the fast lane to progress with either of these works. Both feature video demonstrations and tutorials, loads of tabs and jam tracks to play along with, and I promise you, everything is explained in crystal clear plain English. Check out the links in the description for more details. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Today being Wednesday, we're taking another little journey into the world of songwriting. Basically, not the lyrical aspect of it, you understand. I'll leave that to people better qualified than myself on that score. But what I can tell you about is the fine art of putting together chord sequences. I've done a few videos on this topic now, and I'll link to them all down in the description. Today what we're going to be talking about is the very dramatic, I think, effect you can have when writing a chord sequence by messing around with what the bass is doing. Essentially taking a note other than the root note of the chord and placing that in the bass. We're talking essentially about chord inversions. Now, as a guitar player, as an electric guitar player, I should say, I always tend to take the view that the electric guitar is an ensemble instrument. How many electric guitar players do you tend to see just performing unaccompanied? It's just them. Yeah, it does happen from time to time, but by and large the electric guitar is an instrument which tends to fit into a mix with other instruments. So if we're talking about the electric guitar in that context, then there's going to be a bass player there. And if we're talking about doing things with the bass line, then you can include that a little bit on the guitar itself. And in the following demonstration, you're going to see me doing that to a certain extent on the intro part to the piece of music. But basically, I tend to like to leave the bass line to the person with the word bass in their job title. So just let the bass player take care of the bass line. And if you're doing what I do, which is home recording or even just writing demos at home, then just bear this kind of stuff in mind when you are putting the bass line together. Anyway, enough waffle from me. Here's a piece of music which I think really does illustrate the point that I'm trying to make today. Here it is. And if that sounded vaguely familiar or even very familiar, it's because it's a particular songwriting technique, a particular way of putting a bass line together that has been used countless times throughout not just rock music, but the whole sort of classical realm as well, and in jazz for that matter, which is why it probably sounded a little bit familiar at least. Anyway, that's what it sounds like when we start messing around with the bass line. Here is a bit of an explanation.
Here is the explanation.
Right, let's take a look at just the basic chord sequence for that piece of music that we heard at the top of the video. It goes like this. These are the chords: D minor, A major, F major, G major. Then the second line: B flat major, F major, G minor, F major, C major, D minor. And if we just hear that chord sequence played just like that, this is what it sounds like. So, nothing wrong with that, but we can just tweak it a little bit by taking a look, first of all, at what notes are actually in the chords. You can see in this illustration here, just above each chord, I've written the constituent notes in each chord. So D minor is D, F and A major, A, C sharp, E, F major is F, A, C, G major is G, B, D. Moving on to the second line, we've got a B flat major of B flat, D and F. F major once again, F, A, C, G minor is G, B flat and D, and the F major once again is F, A and C, and the C major is C, E and G. So what I'm going to do is look for some notes that some interesting little pathways, shall we say, that the bass line can take between those chords. And this is a very, very widely used thing that you can do on a chord sequence like this. I've circled the notes there that we're going to be using as bass notes. So you can see that the D minor has a D bass note. The A major has a C sharp bass note, so we're taking the D bass note in the first chord and just dropping it one semitone or one fret to the C sharp, and that gives us a bass note for the A chord. Then let's drop that C sharp note a semitone again, down another fret to the C note, which is going to serve as the bass note underneath the F chord. And then let's take that C note and drop it down another fret to B, and that gives us a note we can use underneath the G chord. Let's take that B note and drop it down another semitone, if we begin on the second line there, with a B flat bass note under the B flat chord. Then moving on to the F chord, second one in on the bottom row, we can take that B flat note that's in the B flat chord, drop that down a semitone to an A note, and we've now got a bass line which is just crawling down in one semitone increment. Or is it an increment if it goes down? You know what I mean. Going down in one semitone steps. D to C sharp to C, C to B, B to B flat, and B flat to A. Then we sort of break that cycle by going from the A note down a whole tone to the G in the G minor chord, and then to an F underneath that F chord in the final bar. And then what we're doing there is we're taking the E note from the C chord and placing that underneath the C chord, which just gives us a nice little walk down from the F via the E note underneath the C chord, which takes us nicely back to the D note, which underpins the D minor chord. So let's have a listen once again. Here's the first piece of music, or the first time through the chord sequence, once again without those bass notes, and then we'll hear it with the bass notes. So hopefully you can hear what a difference that makes. Some people perceive that as just being a subtle, almost unnoticeable difference, but personally I hear it as being just an entire seismic shift in the way that the chord sequence works. It's without those bass notes, it's kind of just going a bit this way, a bit that way, and it's changing direction with every chord change. But to my ears, once you hear that bass line come in, which gives it a definite sort of laddering down effect, it really does enhance the overall sense of direction of the chord sequence. All of the chords in this sequence come from what I would call the orbit of a D minor chord. They're not all in the same key, but what they are from are they'll all occur in different keys, all of which contain a D minor chord. So you can do that. You can move between different keys as much as you want if those keys have one particular chord, your tonality chord, in this case D minor, in common. I've done a video on this in the past. It's all about borrowed chords, and I'll link down to that in the description. But there you go. That is the power of using alternative bass notes, or chord inversions as they are called. It can really give a piece of music a really strong and definitive sense of direction, and it's been used many times throughout songwriting history by just about everybody from Johann Sebastian Bach to think of some, well, obviously White Shade of Pale does something a bit like this, but in a major key. Hotel California does something very much along these kind of lines that we've been talking about today. Stairway to Heaven is another one, and when you think about all of the lawsuits that surrounded those two songs alone, because other people had used a similar idea and claimed that they'd had their idea stolen. My Funny Valentine, there's another song which does a similar kind of thing. So it's a widely used technique, and it's a lot of fun. So now you know what to do. Go away yourself and have some fun with it. And as always, you'll find a full tab for the piece of music earlier in the video in both Guitar Pro and PDF formats, along with a clip of me playing it. That explanation you've just seen there, and the piece of music just as an audio, just as a little D minor jam track for you to have some fun with. One of the reasons why this chord sequence, or this type of chord sequence, is so widely used is because it is very flattering to whatever you do over the top of it. If you just play over the top of that with just your bog standard D minor pentatonic, just your kind of all your standard minor key blues scale licks or whatever, then you're probably going to sound pretty good. You can kind of nip and tuck a little bit and duck and weave throughout the chord tones in the same way that the bass was doing, but honestly you can just have a lot of fun playing over that jam track with just a standard pentatonic. Anyway, all of those resources are up on my Patreon page. There's the address, link in the description. As I'm sure you know by now, $3 or £3-ish a month gets you access to all of these additional goodies that go along with these YouTube videos. And of course, a massive thank you to everyone who supports me in that way, or any of the others, which are all down there in the description, including the higher tier level of Patreon membership, where you get some extra video content on a weekly basis, and a twice monthly hangout with me and the other tier 2 supporters on Zoom every other Tuesday. That happens. And as I say, thank you to everyone, especially who signed up for that, or anyone who's just kind of contributing and helping keeping the channel alive by all of the ways down in the description. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. That is the video for today, folks. So I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen and found it useful and informative and hopefully entertaining in some small way. And if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not drop me a like as well while you're at it. As ever, don't forget the live stream every Friday 5 PM UK time, where we drink beer and talk about stuff. That's basically all that goes on. Nothing kind of too intellectually taxing. We just have a beer and a natter. What's not to love about that? It's a great way to kick off the weekend, and I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.